the lighting makes it look like I'm just like Jesus, you know, like I'm holy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Drunk Astrology. I was very flattered to see that as of recording of this video, almost 60 people have watched my first video, and I have one whole follower. The fact that anybody watches the videos that I've been putting out is like kind of nuts to me. It's great, but like I just thought I was drunkenly yelling "fuck Geminis" into the void, and then there was a response, and you know the void was kind of happy. I'd like to thank my mom for always believing in me. Never thought I'd make it this far. For this week's episode of My Drunk Astrology, I'm going to talk about the basic concepts behind moon signs and rising signs. First, I'm obviously going to get drunk, so I'm going to do that. I'm back. I'm drunk. Time to get astrological. We're going to talk today. Night? It's kind of late. Anyway, we're going to talk about the basic concepts behind moon signs and rising signs. Usually, people who don't know anything about astrology assume there's only one variable, right? And a lot of people do this thing where they're like, I'm a Libra and my friend's a Libra, but we're not the same person. All astrology is fake. First of all, the logic behind that doesn't make any sense to me, right? The fact that you can find one counterexample to something that's supposed to be an overall trend does not disprove the entire trend. By that logic, you could make the argument, oh, I know someone who doesn't have their driver's license, therefore cars are not real. It's not true. That's not true. The sign that you get from telling someone your birthday, right? So, you know, you're born March 5th and you're a Pisces, that's called your sun sign, right? Because it's based on where the sun was in the sky at the time of your birth, right? If you divide up the sky into 12 sections, right, and you assign each one a constellation, right, the sun travels through those 12 sections over the course of about a year. That should make sense, right? The sun goes around, well, the earth goes around the sun, right? But it looks to us like the sun is going around the earth over the course of a year, right? So at any given point in the calendar year, the sun is in roughly the same point, right? Astrologically speaking, and people will have the same star sign, or the same sun sign. But that's just one variable, right? The moon is also going around the earth, and it's also going through the zodiac. But the thing is, the moon goes through the whole zodiac over the course of about a month, right? And the thing is, it doesn't go on the month, right? So it doesn't return to the same place in the zodiac on, like, say, the 5th of the month every month. So what sign the moon is in at the time of your birth is just, like, completely random. You just look it up in a chart, right? Someone with the same birthday in a different year is definitely going to have a completely different moon sign from you. People don't often talk about their moon sign, and in my view, that's kind of a shame, right? I think moon signs are quite astrologically insightful. I'll get to that in a minute. But they do often talk about rising signs. I've never really understood why, but rising signs are like the gateway drug to higher astrology. Almost any idiot can tell you what their Cosmo horoscope says, right? They can be like, I was born on December 11th. Sagittariuses are angry. And that's true. But most people, if they know anything beyond their sun sign, it's their rising sign. This boggles my mind because I don't think rising signs are particularly useful. But if you were curious, your rising sign, rather than indicating where a specific space thing was in the sky at the time of your birth, indicates the sign of the zodiac that was on the horizon as you were born. It depends entirely on the time of day you were born, right? If you were born around dawn, the sign that was on the horizon was also the sign that your sun was in, right? Because the sun was on the horizon, right? But if you were born anytime other than like 6 a.m. on the dot, your rising sign might be different. It's almost definitely different than your sun sign. This makes rising signs very complicated to calculate, right? If you happen to know offhand the time of your birth to the minute, you will be able to calculate it pretty easily. But the average person does not have parents as neurotic as mine, right? So the average person might not know that, and it might be harder to calculate your rising sign. So what does it represent? It represents first impressions. It represents initial, like, just observations about people and the surface level of your personality, right? I personally don't find that to be particularly interesting or useful, right? If I already know you and I want to get more insight into your personality, I don't want some star to tell me this is what you thought of them 5 months ago when you first met them. No, I don't know. It would be like if the Fast and the Furious people made an 8th movie, The Fast and the Furious 8, The Permit Test. I don't want to know what you thought a silhouette of a red octagon meant when you were 16 and never been behind the wheel of a car. You've already been, like, stealing cars in Tokyo and shit. Like, is that relevant? Is that important? I don't care. Some other ways I've heard of interpreting your rising sign that make more sense to me are they represent your personality at 9 in the morning, or they represent the personality vibe you give off to your coworkers in like a professional environment. Having said all that, I still think moon signs are a much more interesting way of analyzing someone's horoscope. So moon signs, unlike rising signs, which represent the very superficial, surface level aspect of your personality, represent something that's deep down within you. They represent how you deal with emotions, how you act when you're vulnerable, how you are in sort of gut reaction, like quick instinct, like, you know, surprise situations when you don't have a lot to go on. And I also heard that they represent, and this is kind of true, how you act when you're drunk, right? All of those things are a lot more insightful than a rising sign, right? Because they tell you a deep level of your personality that you might not necessarily be aware of, but is very much still there, right? I think that's kind of cool. I'm always interested to find out someone's moon sign once I've gotten to know them a little bit, because it gives me a lot more insight into their personality than knowing what I should have thought of them 6 months ago and have already gotten past. Once you found out your moon and your rising sign, if you want to go back at the lemonade videos and look at them again, you can look at them through the lens of one of these describes how people think of me when they first meet me. One of them describes me when I'm vulnerable, when I'm caught in a situation that's kind of uncomfortable, how I deal with serious emotions, and what I'm like when I'm drunk. The next time you see some post that's like the 12 signs of the zodiac as different types of fruit, you can be like, well, I'm a banana, except when I'm drunk, I'm a pineapple. Better living through astronomy. Astrology? Fruit, what science is fruits? Botany? I think it's biology. There was nothing left. Why did I don't know why I drank. That was just air. If your sun sign and your rising sign are the same, it means that the first impression that you give people, right, is basically the same as who you are. You're a very what you see is what you get kind of a person. I can think of 2 people, close friends of mine, that have this placement, and both of them are open books. You meet them and you know exactly who they are. It's kind of cool. I'm into it. If your sun sign and your moon sign are the same, it means that the inner part of your personality that comes out when you're vulnerable is even more of the part of you that is happening normally. Those people, frankly, tend to be a lot. For some reason involving stars and planets and shit that I don't really understand, this happens because you were born around the time of a new moon. That means, like, maybe you're a werewolf? I don't know. That's kind of cool. So, like, good for you. If you notice that the fake piercing, first of all, this is fake. If you notice it's been moving all around, that you saw it on my nose and then in my mouth, yes, I washed it between that, you nasty people. I'm not just, like, I have some standards of hygiene. Like, get your minds out of the gutter. I'm not that disgusting. I share a room with a 15-year-old, my brother, not like just some random child off the street. Anyway, so I'm constantly bombarded by, like, filth, so I try as much as possible not to emulate that filth. But, yeah, like, it's been moving all around my face. Who noticed? Probably not you. Are you the drunk one or me? Who knows? ¿Por qué no los dos? Maybe you've been watching this drunk. That's a little strange. I don't know that's probably not as funny. You lost out. I'm pretty funny. Anyway, I'm going to start talking about the elements next week, and I think I'm going to start with fire. Maybe I won't. I don't know. People talk about that shit a lot. And now you know that there's more than one kind of sign. So you'll know, like, oh, maybe I'm a fire sign. Like, I have a fire sun sign, but a water moon sign, right? What does that mean? How are they related? All right, bye.